Hi everyone, this is Crispy1001 at kpcoolstuff.com. I am starting a series of tutorials on how to use Blender to make models for FSX. We will be using an add-on called Blender2FSX. In these tutorials you will learn how to do basic modeling in Blender 2.70. You'll learn how to use the Blender2FSX toolset. You will learn how to animate your plane model for FSX. You'll learn how to texture your models, the exterior model and the interior model. You'll learn how to create an instrument panel and place gauges and instruments for 3D and 2D cockpits. You'll learn how to create simple textures using GIMP 2.8. You'll also learn how to create all the files needed to use your model in FSX. To get started, you will need the following software installed. You'll need to install Blender, either 2.69 or 2.70. I am using 2.70. You'll need to have installed Flight Simulator 10 with Service Pack 2 or the Acceleration Pack. You'll need to have installed Blender2FSX toolset, which is the add-on for Blender. You can get it at this hyperlink here. I will have all the asset hyperlinks added to this YouTube video. You also need to install GIMP 2.8 or use some other compatible or comparable graphical program. I'm using GIMP 2.8. It is a free software. And you will also need the model that I'm using to model our plane with, or the image. And you can get it at this hyperlink here. On the image, when you pull it up on the internet, right mouse click and save image as. Next, we will want to set up your file structure. How I have mine set up: your main folder should be the name of your plane or your model. Mine is Test Plane 1. In that main folder you should have a backup file folder, which you will make copies of your Blender file and save, just in case you have an accident. You can go back to a later version of that model. An image folder, which will hold the resource images that you're going to use to model your plane with. A MDL folder, which will hold the model that will be created by using the Blender2FSX add-on. A folder to hold the files that are required for FSX to use your model, and a textures folder, which will hold the textures that will be applied to your model. Once we get that going, we can go and open Blender. When Blender opens, you'll see a splash screen. It allows you to open recent files or projects you have going on, and gives you links to resources for Blender. Click outside of the splash screen into the 3D workspace. All the area in this area right here is your 3D workspace. In the workspace you have default a camera, an object or a cube, and a light source, a point light. Off to the right hand side you have your left toolbar, and then you'll have a right toolbar. We need to make sure first that your add-on or your Blender2FSX add-on is installed. If you scroll all the way down on the left toolbar, you should have three tabs. One that is named FSX Animation Tool, an FSX Attach Point Tool, and an FSX File Properties. If you have those three tabs, your add-on is installed. Next, you'll need to test to make sure that your add-on can find the Flight Simulator SDK. To do this, click on the Initialize Toolset button. If you get no errors, or if you receive no errors, it finds the SDK. Next, we'll be setting up the 3D work area. The first thing we're going to do is learn how to move in it, or how to navigate. So by holding down your middle mouse scroll wheel, you can rotate around an object or rotate your 3D work area. If you hold down a shift key on your keyboard and that same middle mouse scroll wheel, you can move the whole 3D space. Now right now Blender is set up that if you to choose an object, you need to right mouse click. In other 3D programs like 3ds Max or Gmax, you use the left mouse button. So we're going to set it up to allow the left mouse button to select the objects. So we're going to go to File, User Preferences, and you're going to click on Input tab and click on underneath the mouse, select with left. Click the left and then Save User Settings. After you do that, you can close this window. We can now left click the camera. We're going to hit X key on the keyboard and delete the camera. Select the lamp. Press the X key, delete the lamp. Select the cube. Hit the X key and delete. Now we're going to have to set up the units for the project. We're going to go to the Scene tab, which is on the left side on the right hand toolbar. Click on the Scene, go down to Units, and click on the Imperial button. You'll see up in your 3D work area in the left hand top corner, you'll see now that you have your units are in feet. We're going to use the middle mouse button to scroll in. We're going to add an empty now that we're going to use for the root of our project. So we're going to hit a Shift and an A key. We're going to go down to Empty and Cube. We're going to now go to the right toolbar, click on the Object tab. We're going to rename the object. I'm going to name it Test Plane Root. Now you can name yours whatever you want. I am then going to go to the left toolbar and I'm going to generate a guide for our project. You can see a guide name has been added, and then I'm going to add the friendly name for our project, and I'm going to call mine Test Plane and enter. I'm now going to resize. To move the work area, I'm again using the Shift key and the middle mouse button. I'm going to resize the cube now by hitting the S key on the keyboard. You will notice that from the mouse pointer to the middle of the object, you have a dotted line with arrows left to right to the mouse cursor. Move the mouse toward the middle of the object. Size it down. You can barely see it. And click the left mouse button to enter, or you can use the enter key on the keyboard. I'm using the middle wheel to scroll in on the mouse. Okay, I forgot to mention that the right mouse button is now used to move the 3D cursor. So if I click outside somewhere, you'll see a cursor shows up. This 3D cursor is used to show where you're going to enter a new object or a new 3D object. So if I added a square, it would be added at that location at the 3D cursor. I'm going to move the 3D cursor back. I'm going to go to the plus by the the right hand top corner of my 3D workspace, the little plus sign. I'm going to click it, move it out a little bit. You'll see 3D cursor and location. I'm going to click on the X and 0, Y and 0, Z and 0. Now of course there's other ways to move the 3D cursor. This is just the way that I like doing it. Okay, now that we have that set up, we're going to start setting up our views for modeling, or for starting modeling. We're going to be using 3 different views with a background image for our modeling. We're going to be using a left orthographic view, a top orthographic view, and a front orthographic view. So we're going to set up first the left orthographic view. So in this toolbar here, we're going to click on background image, we're going to check mark, and we're going to drop it down. We're going to click on the add image button. We're going to scroll down. We're going to set the axis for this view to be left, and we're going to hit open to locate our image file. And we're going to navigate to our image. You should have your image in your main folder under image, or in the image folder under your main folder, and open. Now nothing has changed because we haven't changed our view yet. So we're going to hit the control key and the number 3 numeric pad key. That puts us in the left orthographic view. We're going to use the middle mouse button to scroll out. Now what we're going to try to do, this is going to be the view we're going to use for our left view. For orientating your model in FSX, the front of your plane needs to be on the left hand side of your left orthographic view. If you have it reversed, your plane will fly backwards. If you have your plane, the front of your plane in the x-axis, you'll be flying sideways. So you need to make sure to set up the orientation correctly. So we're going to use, if you scroll down on this toolbar here, all the way down, you'll see that we have an x-axis, a y-axis, and a size axis. So we can size the background, we can move the background in the x and the y-axis. So to click or left mouse click in the y-axis and move the mouse either left or right, and you'll see that your background image moves. We want to move the image about right there. Do the same thing in your x-axis. Move it over. I'm going to use the shift key and the middle mouse button to reposition my 3D space. Sorry about that, I had to pause for a minute. So I'm going to zoom in using the middle mouse button. What we're trying to do is line up the very center of our 3D workspace, which is the y-axis at 0, the x-axis at 0, and the z-axis at 0, which is right there. We want to line it up vertically on our center of gravity, which I have marked here, and I want it approximately in the middle of our body, of our fuselage. So what I'm going to do to make it easier, I'm going to line it up horizontally about the top of the plane right there. So I'm going to move the Y. Oops, wrong way. Oops, wrong way again. That's pretty good. We're going to leave that right where it's at for right now. Now we will be readjusting this because we're going to have to add our object, size our object to the 27 foot, which you can see from the very front of our fuselage. Oops, sorry about that. Let me hit Control and number 3 again on the numeric pad. Remember to hold down Shift and the middle mouse to move. Okay, if you look at the fuselage, the very front of it to the very back of the fuselage is 27 feet. That's not counting our spinner and our elevator and rudder. So we need to create an object that we're going to size to that dimension and then resize the background to match that. So that's what we're going to do right now. To add an object, you want to hit Shift and the A key. We're going to go to Mesh and Cube. So now we have a cube. I want to change out of solid object mode, and I'm going to go into wireframe mode. So you can do that by hitting the Z key on your keyboard. Doing that will change it to an outline. Now I want to change the length in the y-axis of our object to match our fuselage length. I'm going to scroll up on this toolbar here all the way to the top where you see dimensions. In the y-axis, I'm going to type in 27.0 and then the symbol for feet. From your L key, count 2 keys over to the right. That is the symbol for feet. Click that button and the Enter key. You can see it changed the length of our object. Use the middle mouse wheel to scroll out. Now we need to match the background to our object length. To do this, we scroll down and we use the size. You can manipulate the size setting the same way as you did the X and Y. You can click one time and move and hold the left mouse button down and scroll either left or right to increase or decrease the size. Now I already have the exact values for my X, Y, and Z, so I'm going to go ahead and enter those in, because you see now how to manipulate the X, Y, and the size. So I'm going to shorten or shrink the size of our main window a little bit. I'm going to open up a file, and here's my left view. So what we're going to do for the left view, you're going to click one time, left click in the X axis location. We're going to type in 5.170 and enter. In the y-axis, again, left click one time. Enter in 6.740 and enter. Click one time, a left click in the size, and enter 9.930. Now we need to line the object up with our background, now that we have the background sized correctly. To do this, make sure you have the object selected. Click the G key on the keyboard for grab and the Y key for moving in the Y-axis. one time to enter the position, or you can use the enter key on the keyboard. Now we need to move the object down in the z-axis. So again, we'll type or click the G key, the Z key for the z-axis, and move it down. Now we're going to have to go into edit mode so that we can move our vertices to start roughly matching our body shape. So on your keyboard, click Tab. Once you hit Tab, everything's going to be selected on your model or on your object. Hit the A key to unselect. Click the B key one time on the keyboard. Move your mouse up, hold down the left mouse button, and drag and release once you have the vertices in the triangle, the rectangle that you have on the screen. This will select two vertices at the bottom of your object. I'm now going to move into perspective mode so you can see the vertices selected. Hold down the middle mouse button and move. You can see now that we have two vertices selected. To go back to your left orthographical view, click Control and the number 3 key. Use the middle mouse button to zoom in. Hit the G key for grab, the Z key to move in the Z-axis, and move your mouse down. And then left click once to enter that position, or hit the enter key on your keyboard. We're going to hit the A key now to unselect those vertices. Use the scroll center wheel on your mouse to zoom out. Hold the shift key down, the middle mouse button, to move your 3D space. Use the middle mouse button again to zoom in. We're going to again hit the B key on the keyboard. We're going to hold down the left mouse button, drag it up to select the two vertices on this side. Now before we were using shortcut keys to do the grab and the move in the axes. Now we're going to use the actual manipulator arrows. So on the Z-axis, you can click on it, left click once, hold down the left mouse button, and pull up. And release the mouse button, and you just move those vertices. That just shows you a different way to move and manipulate your vertices, faces, whatever you're going to be manipulating. I prefer using shortcut keys, but you can use wherever you want. You will learn, well, I've learned in modeling that a lot of times I do not like these arrow manipulating arrows in my way, so I will turn them off. This key, this little tab down here or button, will turn off that option. And now you would use shortcut keys only. But for this first tutorial, I will leave these on. I'm going to hit the A key to unselect. I'm going to use the middle mouse button to zoom out. Shift key, middle mouse button again to relocate the 3D space. I'm going to hit the Tab key to go out of edit mode back into object mode. Okay, now we have set up the left orthographical view with a background image to do our modeling. Now we need to set up the top view. So we will hit the 7 key on the numeric pad. That puts you in a top-down orthographical view. We're now going to go back to our background image. We're going to add another image for another view. We're going to scroll down. We're going to change this axis for this new view to top. And we're going to add our background image again. So we're going to find the location again. And enter. This time we're going to go a little faster. I'm going to just type in the X, Y, and the size because I already have it over here. So the X, we want to left click once. We want to type in 3.517 and the enter key. In the Y axis, we want to enter a negative 1.560. And again, the size should be 9.930, the same as the left view. And we are lined up perfectly. So now we're going to go and we're going to set up the front view. Now, because of the way we've had to orientate or set the orientation of our model in Blender, the front view is actually the view of the back of our model, and the back of our model is actually the front of our model. So we're going to scroll back up. We're going to add a new image again, or a new view image. We're going to set its axis as back, and we're going to open that image again. And again, we're first going to scroll down. We're going to enter the x-axis or location, which is negative 1.720. We're going to enter a y of minus 5.859, and your size should be 9.930. We forgot to change that view, so to change to the back view, which is our front view, hit the Control key and the number 1 numeric key, and our model is on perfectly. Okay, we're going to now save our file. So hit File, Save As, navigate to where you have your main file at for your model. Click up here one time, name your model whatever you're going to name it. Mine's going to be Test Plane 1. Enter. As you can notice that Blender will add its extension of blend, so you do not have to put that in, and save as Blender file. This is where I'm going to end the tutorial for, or this tutorial until the next one. The next tutorial will start working on actually modeling the body and perhaps starting on the main wing. So I hope you watch my next video. Give me input if I'm doing good enough or not good enough. And I hope that you will subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thanks for watching. Bye.